Welcome again to Against the Spread. We made it back another year, so evidently the picks weren't that bad. 2019 version of picking NFL games for you against the spread from us here at Sportsnet for you on YouTube. I'm Donnovan Bennett. I used to play football, but evidently I don't know that much about it, so you should listen to actually what he has to say.
Yeah, maybe. On the field, and I guess off the field predictions are much different because on the field I couldn't do anything. But here we are. Now I'm an expert, I guess.
Yeah, well, this should be fun. Should we start with Thursday Nighter?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. NFC North matchup. This line actually started at 3.5. It's now at -3 for the home Bears, even though the public right now is going with the Green Bay Packers. Who are you going with?
I can't go with the Packers because what this game comes down to for me is familiarity, and what we have from the Bears is a familiar team from last year. A lot coming back from the team that won the division last year, and with the Packers, there's not that familiarity. New head coach, new offensive system. Aaron Rodgers even said earlier this week that don't expect us to be at full strength coming into this Thursday nighter. So based on that and the fact the Packers are on the road, I'm going to take the Bears.
The Bears are a fascinating team because they made the playoffs a year ago. They were a double doink away from advancing. But yet when you look at over-unders and people projecting, a lot of people down on the Bears in the NFC North. I'm with you. This one's tough because it's a field goal game. The Packers have won 4 of their last 5 primetime matchups against Chicago. So then I'm like, do I like the Packers in this spot? But also, when you look at new head coaches in their first ever game, last year they were 0-5 and 1-4 against the spread. So I do worry about LaFleur. As I basically talked on both sides of my mouth, I am going to go with Green Bay only because I do think that the fact it's a new offense doesn't help Chicago in terms of familiarity in English, in that sense. Even though Aaron Rodgers has not played any preseason football, I don't think that matters. I like it to be a close game, but I do like Green Bay in this one. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We have our first difference. And Chuck Pagano, the new coordinator in Chicago, he may, overwrite that because he's familiar with what Tennessee's offense was last year. This opened at +3 for Carolina, still at +3 for Carolina. If you told me that these two teams are the last two playing in the NFC, I would I could see that. But you also told me that these two teams had an injury at the quarterback position and they missed playoffs. I could see that too.
Yeah, that's the big thing with the Panthers is Cam Newton's health. Last year they looked like a contending NFC team, and then Cam Newton got hurt, and that's the key this year. In this game, I'm actually really surprised that the spread is this small, given what the Rams did last year, Super Bowl notwithstanding. And because of that and the uncertainty of Cam Newton's health, I think I have to go with the Rams here. It almost feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I also think the over-under, last I saw it at 50.5, is also a no-brainer. I'd take the over in this game.
Yeah.
The Rams might get there by themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the Rams because, theoretically anyways, all of their stars are starting the year healthy. I think the worry with the Rams, similar to the worry with Cam Newton, is around their health.
Right.
What's the receiving core going to be like in terms of health? All those guys going to make it through this season. How long is Todd Gurley's knee going to hold up? Right. And again, they've got no protection if Goff is hurt in terms of their quarterback room and that depth.
Like Bortles? What do you mean?
Like I said, they've got no protection.
Yeah,
so I think when I look at the Rams, this is the healthiest probably they're going to be all year.
Yeah.
And I like their two deep. And I think with Carolina, is this the healthy they're going to be? They're hoping that Cam Newton gets healthier throughout the season, which is never a recipe for success. So I like the Rams in this game.
Yeah.
Washington at Philadelphia. 60% of the public is with the Eagles. I'm actually surprised it's not more.
Yeah. I think it's because of the big spread at 9.5.
Well, that's the thing. It's where the number is people get a little antsy when they see a spread that big. But evidently, the number's moving and they're not afraid because the line opened at -8 for Philly. For those who are familiar with this space and this podcast, they know that G-Lo is a proud Eagles fan.
Proud most of the time.
Well,
depends.
Yes. Will you be proud with them from a gambling perspective Sunday evening as they host the Redskins?
I think so, and for two reasons. Philly looks like, on paper, one of the best teams in the NFC, and if they put it all together, Wentz staying healthy, then they can get to the title game and maybe more. But mostly it's because of Washington. Case Keenum starting is never good. Don't bet on Case Keenum. And they're without their best player in Trent Williams at left tackle protecting Case Keenum. So I really can't pick a team like that despite what looks like a big spread on week 1.
Yeah, I mean, one of my philosophies in terms of football is when you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. Yeah. And when I look at these 2 teams, I look at the Eagles, who Foles has moved on, and this is clearly Wentz's team, both on the field and the locker room. They can move forward knowing that he's their guy, theoretically, for the next 10 years.
Right.
And when I look at Washington, I look at a team who's trying to get to that place with Dwayne Haskins, but they aren't there yet. And similar to the situation with the Giants, I feel like Washington should just rip off the Band-Aid and get there.
Just get them in the game.
And I actually think that they'll be a better football team when they do. So I may pick Washington this year more than I probably should, but I'm not going to do it in week 1, especially with Keenum as their quarterback. Yeah. Because of the quarterback situation, even at the big number, I like Philly in this game. The AFC East is also a division where everyone's trying to find their quarterback to compete with the team at the top, and the Patriots. We're going to watch Buffalo and the Jets, not really considering are they playoff teams, but really evaluating them on do they have their quarterback of the future. Yeah. Both Allen and Darnold will be players to watch in week 1 as the Jets host the Bills. It's -3 for the Jets. It's actually moved a little bit as it opened as -3.5. 57% of the public with the New York Football Jets. I am with them.
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
why?
going to take the Bills here. The Bills in the second half of last year made great strides on defense, and were one of the top defenses in the league, top 10 in the second half. And they've built this offense around Josh Allen to make him successful. The offensive line is one of the deepest in the NFL. They added Cole Beasley. They have John Brown. They're giving him options. Devin Singletary, now with LaShawn McCoy out, looks like he's going to be the guy. Frank Gore. He's got plenty of options to work within that offense and hopefully be successful. When it comes to the Jets, injuries on defense, suspensions on defense, I just don't know. I expect Sam Darnold to take a step, and I expect the offense to be better than they were last year. But the defense is the biggest question mark for me. And at -3, I'll take the underdog here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, are these teams pretty even? Yeah, so will I take the home team, and I'll take the 3 points, not that big of a spread? Sure. I just look at the Jets in terms of they've got injuries and suspensions on defense, but they also spent a lot of money to help that defense this offseason. And they spent a lot of money on Le'Veon Bell, who, to me, is the best player in this game, who's going to want to make a big splash in his first game coming back, sitting off a year. And we'll probably see this later on in the year than we do early. But even still, I'm not sure how interested the Buffalo Bills are in winning football games. They're not Miami Dolphins level of we're going to tank, but I still think that they're building for a couple years. And so I think the Jets, with a new coach who has already been fired by a team in the division, spending more money in free agency than anybody else in football, they are in win mode now. So with a tight spread, I actually like the Jets more so in this game, but I also like them more so in this division. I think they're all going to be far from New England, but I think they're probably the second team in this division. If someone surprises and fights for a wild card spot, I think it's going to be the Jets. Both of the next two teams expect to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen for both because of how crazy competitive the NFC is. And that would be Atlanta at Minnesota. Minnesota -4 is the line. How do you feel about the Vikings this year?
I feel like they'll take a step, but I'm still...
Which way?
Forward, I guess I should say. I'm still really suspect about Kirk Cousins. And I know like he had technically, statistically, his best year last year, but he wasn't the game changer that they paid him to be. For me, I have no idea which way to go on this game. Like, frankly, the spread it gives me pause at -4. The Falcons, again, there's lots of question marks about that team. Both of these teams can be contenders in the NFC, but both of them missed the playoffs last year. But I feel better about the Falcons with the injured players coming back on defense and the overall outlook on offense. I think they're the more dangerous team right now before I see more from the Vikings. So I'm going to take them as road underdogs.
Yeah, it's crazy that not long ago, I mean, the Falcons were in the Super Bowl. The Vikings were expected to be there, and these were teams that a couple years ago we would think would be fighting for the number 1 seed in the division. Now we don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I took the Vikings in a wins pool as my second pick, so in the middle of the pool, and I said that pick could win me the pool.
Yeah.
If they mess around and win 10 games.
Right.
Or if they win 4, it could lose me the pool. And both are on the table.
Yeah.
And it's because of that volatility. I like Atlanta more so this year. And I do like them in this game getting points because I think Atlanta is probably somewhere between a 7 to 9 win team. They'll be frisky and be close to a wild card spot. I don't think they're going to fall off the table. I don't think they're going to win their division or host a playoff game. But I do think the roster is a little bit more settled, and they're much more settled at the quarterback position. And I actually think they're settled even on their coaching staff a little bit more in terms of knowing what they want to do and having systems moving forward. So I'm going to take the Falcons. This one's really tough. Baltimore at Miami.
Yeah.
And if it was straight up, everyone would pick Baltimore.
Yeah, I think that's
even on the road in Miami. But -7 is a lot, especially when we don't know how explosive or rudimentary Baltimore's offense is going to be.
Right.
Who do you like in this game with the Dolphins hosting the Ravens?
I think the Dolphins, for me, early on, would be my favorite to land the number 1 overall pick. I think, given the fact that they just traded their left tackle, they gave up one of their weapons in Kenny Stills, and things, based on reports, seem explosive behind the scenes. It seems like there's going to be some drama in that locker room, and the Ravens are good. They might not be the most fun team to watch this season, but I think Lamar Jackson's going to take another step forward. I think they're going to be really good on defense. And for me, when them rushing the ball down the Dolphins' throats, I could see it being a double-digit win. And so I've got to go with the Ravens here. I can't pick the Dolphins, especially when I think they're going to be among the worst teams in the NFL.
So no Fitzmagic for you, eh?
No, Fitzmagic, that's predictable. Last year wasn't predictable, so the Bucs caught some people off guard, but I don't think Fitzpatrick's going to catch anyone off guard this year.
I think the operative phrase for me in this game is catching people off guard. We know obviously the Baltimore Ravens are going to run the football. They always have. Now with a running quarterback, they really are going to.
And Mark Ingram makes that much more dangerous.
So much better. And plus, Gus Edwards towards the back end of the year was one of the big fantasy pickups in terms of running the football.
Sure.
When you hear Harbaugh talk about what they want to do with this offense, he says they want to change the way people run the football. And some of the things they do are going to be all the way back to the wishbone, and some are going to be spread concepts that are radical even in college football, never mind the NFL. And that unpredictability, especially in week one is why I think Baltimore, with more talent to start, plus a team that's going to be tough to prepare for and how expansive they're going to be with their run game, I actually do like Baltimore to cover, even though -7 is a lot of points for a team that I don't think is going to score that many points. Kansas City at Jacksonville, great offense. I think with Patrick Mahomes in year 2 gets a bit better. Jacksonville, a great defense with a great draft and probably reverting back to where they should have been as they slipped a little bit last year. 73% of the public is with the Chiefs. I think that's because the number is pretty small.
Yeah,
and
that's the biggest
-3.5
reason here.
Yeah. Are people a little bit too down on the Jaguars, or is just respecting for how good Kansas City is, even on the road to start the season?
I expect the Jaguars to be in the AFC playoff picture this year. The defense was good last year and will probably be better, and I think the offense will. It has to be better with Nick Foles. There's no way it can get much worse. I think the fact that 73% of people are voting with the Chiefs is the fact that it's the Chiefs and the spread is 3.5. That's something that we can easily see. Jacksonville can have a good game on Sunday and still lose by 7 points. So I think really when it comes down to it, this is the easiest pick of the week just because of how small the spread is.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I struggled in this very segment at times last year is because it took me a while to really get on board with the Chiefs. I was a late believer. Well, I'm all in now. In Andy Reid, even with a different backfield, right? With LaShawn McCoy coming in late and Damian Williams, being probably not the bell cow, but being more of a sharing back and not just a straight backup like he was in the past. I do think that the Chiefs keep rolling again. Now that they know Tyreek Hill is going to be on the field for week one, something that they didn't know at the beginning of the offseason. They know that Travis Kelce is going to be the best tight end in football. I think this offense alone will be too much even for Jacksonville. The team that I think has an offense that could rival what the Chiefs do is Cleveland Browns.
Do.
I do,
You're
actually.
buying in.
I am. And it's not just because, Hunt will be eventually a Brown.
Yeah.
He'll be out of this game because of suspension. But
out till week 10, I think.
Yeah, but I still really like Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
I love their tight end Njoku. What's not to like about Odell Beckham Jr. hooking back up with his buddy Jarvis Landry, and Baker Mayfield in year 2 should be better. I like the Titans, but at -5.5, I'm still going to go Browns. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the Browns because the Titans, I'm just not convinced, and they're without their best offensive player in Taylor Lewan, who's been suspended for the first 4 games of the year. And the Titans have just been the picture of, mediocrity. And I'm not chirping them, even though it sounds like I am. I just think like they have yet to take that step and show me that they're taking that next step. But I'm not all in on the Browns yet. I still need to see it because we've seen teams hyped up before in the offseason when they make a lot of big moves. Maybe not on this level. Like bringing in Odell Beckham was a coup and not something we see often. But there are questions about the Browns' offensive line. If that doesn't come together, then it's going to be really hard to bring this offense together. So I'll have to see what they look like in week 1 and the first couple weeks of the season. But against the Titans, I feel comfortable with 5.5, even though 5.5 isn't perfect. Like 4.5, and I don't know what difference that makes. But looking at 5.5, I second guessed it, but I still have to go with the Browns. I just don't believe in the Titans enough at this point.
See, I see and honor your concerns with the Browns' offensive line. For me, when I think of line play and the Browns, I'm just so scared of their defensive line.
Yeah, like with Garrett and Vernon, especially going up against the Titans this week.
Yeah,
that's a scary combo.
Yeah, you got Richardson in the middle, anchoring thing.
Yeah.
And the issue with the Titans is they're so predictable. If Derrick Henry's on the field, they're running it. If Deion Lewis is on the field, they're throwing it. And Marcus Mariota hasn't taken enough of a step. And now with a new coordinator on offense, I don't think that's a good recipe for success. you mentioned a team that might be drafting first overall and probably looking for a quarterback at the top of the draft, whether that's Herbert or Tua, or I don't know, maybe even Jalen Hurts if he continues to break records. Yeah. I think the other team that might be drafting at the top and looking for a quarterback is the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah. I think they're going to be really, really bad. And Seattle opened as a 8-point favorite at home. It's now 9.5, and still 56% of the public is with the Seahawks. There's a lot of juice around them. You know, obviously bringing in Clowney and getting excited. To me, this is more about the Bengals. AJ Green not on the field in a walking boot.
That's a huge loss.
It's not an IR. So if you're thinking of, you know, the Bengals in terms of over-unders, know that he's coming back. But until he is back, I am staying away from Cincinnati, even at 9.5. I'm not afraid. I'm taking the Seahawks. You?
Yeah, talk about like throwing a rookie head coach right into the fire. Zach Taylor coaches his first game in Seattle, maybe the toughest place to play in all of the NFL. And like you said, the Bengals just don't look good without their best player on the field. I just don't have much hope for them, so I got to take the Seahawks.
The Colts lost their best player.
They sure did.
I mean, I shouldn't laugh because Colts fans were in between devastated and livid. But Jacoby Brissett gets a new contract.
Yeah, I think they really like him. I think Frank Reich has really warmed up to Brissett, and I don't know. I'm not as concerned about the Colts as maybe a lot of other people are. Obviously, Andrew Luck is a huge loss, but I think they like Brissett.
Yeah, he is a huge loss. Melvin Gordon also a huge loss. Yeah. And to me, this game is about the guys who are not there and how the teams cope with it.
Right.
The Chargers at home, -6.5. 72% of the public is with the Chargers. I think there are some Colts fans who laid money on the Chargers.
In anger.
Yes, for sure. And obviously this line really moved from Chargers to -3 to now Chargers at 6.5. Is there an overreaction to the Luck news in favor of the Chargers?
Yeah, 100%. I think there is. Obviously the Andrew Luck retirement was a shock to everybody, but like I just said, Frank Reich believes in Brissett, and you know, being an Eagles fan, I've seen what Frank Reich can do with a backup quarterback when Nick Foles went on to win Super Bowl MVP. So around Brissett is a good team, a great offensive line, good weapons on the outside, a good defense. Darius Leonard was one of the best defensive players of the year last year. So I think there is a reaction, an overreaction to this, and I'm taking the Colts in this game. Because the spread is 6.5. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Colts compete in the AFC this year and in this game.
I think you're right. I am taking the Colts. I do think the Colts compete in the AFC specifically because I think their division, like no other, is up for grabs.
Right.
I think the reason why the Luck news is so devastating for Colts fans and was so surprising is because the Colts are really good and they're really close to challenging for a Super Bowl. And that's why Colts fans were devastated. So even if you come off of losing your quarterback and going to Jacoby Brissett, who's league average, who's not Luck, who had the best year of his career last year, but is league average, the Colts are still a really, really, really good football team. And the Chargers, at the best of time, have shown flashes of being really good, but also played really, really poorly. And most of that poor play has come early in seasons when they've had a lot of hype, a lot of expectations, haven't reached it. And then later, they were the giant killer and would beat teams when they were trying to make it into the playoffs. Without Melvin Gordon, you got two backs that are okay, in Eckler and Jackson, but not great. I really like Himes. I really like Marlon Mack. And actually, the Colts finally addressed their offensive line for Luck. So it's ironic that now he's retiring because he got beat up for so long without an offensive line. I think that offensive line is going to help Jacoby Brissett, as is that running game. I, too, like the Colts. San Francisco at T-Bay. You're already shaking your head. I even said the line.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, what's Jimmy Garoppolo? Do we know?
No, I have no idea. No, that's the thing. It's like, what an up and down preseason. Like, obviously, we don't want to buy into preseasons, but he had one of the worst performances of the preseason, and then had one of the better performances of the preseason. So I don't know with this game. If I could avoid a game this week, this is the one that I would avoid. And then with Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston, like this is a do or die year for him. Bruce Arians is now in control, so if there was 1 year to do it, this is the year that Winston should do it. But I don't know, like, who are you taking here? Because I really don't know.
Yeah, it's a pick'em game, and I think it's a pick'em game because people are like, well,
yeah,
we need more information on both of these teams, and really both of these quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I'm taking San Francisco because I do think the Garoppolo threw 5 consecutive interceptions in a practice became a news thing because it's the summer and we need something to talk about in terms of football. But my real concern is the fact that Jameis Winston throws a lot of interceptions in games.
Yeah.
And so do I love the Niners? No. Am I concerned that they still have some injury issues with their backfield? Yes. But do I have more faith in Kyle Shanahan in year 2 and what he's doing than Tampa Bay in year 1 of Arians? And if it was up to me, the last year of the Jameis Winston experiment, yes. So I'm going to take San Fran reluctantly.
All right, well, then I'll go with the Bucs. I'll take the home team, and we'll see what happens.
Nice. The New York Football Giants at Dallas, -7. It started at 7.5. I actually think this line is kind of small, and that could be my Cowboy homerism coming through. There's some progress with the Ezekiel Elliott contract. Even if that deal gets done between now and we are taping this, which full disclosure is midday on a Tuesday, and when this game is being played, which is Sunday at 4:25 Eastern, right, he either will not play in week 1 or probably won't be a factor.
Yeah.
He's got a new coordinator, new wrinkles in the offense, and I don't know how fit he's going to be. Having said that, the Giants are still the Giants. And I think the Giants may be better than some expect, but I think that will be later in the year when Jones is their quarterback, not Manning. Yeah. I like Dallas, even though it's -7.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I almost leaned the way of the Giants just because the absence of Elliott, like you said, whether he has a contract or not, is a big one. And I know a lot of people are talking about Tony Pollard and what he's done in the preseason, but I don't think that matters when they actually hit the field on Sunday. But there's too many question marks around the Giants, and they're without big playmakers. And despite Saquon Barkley, being one of the best backs in the league already, I just don't like enough of what the Giants have done this offseason to pick them week 1 against a much, much better division rival.
Detroit at Arizona, the NFL debut of Kyler Murray, Heisman Trophy winner, +2.5 are the Cardinals at home. 60% likes the -2.5 for the Lions. Who do you like?
I like the Lions. I think the Kingsbury-Murray duo, that's going to be one of the most interesting storylines to watch this season as they try to institute a college offense into the NFL and justify taking Murray first overall. That said, they did have one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen last year, and there's only so much you can do in one off season when it comes to fixing that, and then their defense is going to be in trouble. So I expect Arizona to be one of the worst teams, despite maybe some exciting things on offense. The Lions are a middling team at best, I think, but they should win this game, and they should win it by a field goal at least.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I do think the offensive line clearly an issue, but when you give Kingsbury, who I don't know how good he's going to be as a head coach, but he's certainly proven to be a pretty good coordinator. You give him Kyler Murray, give him David Johnson.
Yeah,
these
should work.
These 2 weapons that he's never had before.
Don't doubt Larry Fitz at this point too, right? Like,
certainly,
he's still a dangerous.
And so you're giving him that type of upside offensively in Arizona as a home dog. I do like it. That goes against what I said earlier about head coaches in their debuts.
Yeah.
we saw what a new coach in their debut was like for Matt Patricia a year ago. It wasn't pretty.
No.
But I still like the Cardinals. Short line, underdogs at home. I do like the Kyler Murray experience to start off. Maybe not with a win,
that would be something.
but with a cover. Pittsburgh at New England. Pittsburgh, for all the drama that they've had over the last couple of years, it's been a pretty quiet offseason.
It has. I think they're thankful for that. That's been the whole point.
Probably.
Getting rid of those guys, I think.
They've lost a lot of drama from the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Also lost a lot of talent from the locker room.
They did, yeah.
They are +6. The Patriots favorites at home for the Sunday nighter. This line opened at -6 for New England. It stays at -6 for New England, and the public's pretty close, 51% public with the Steelers. Who are you with?
I'm going to go with the Steelers as well, and I think the dramaless offseason is going to be big for the Steelers, but also I can't help but lean on the past for the Patriots, who usually start the season out pretty slowly. September has been a bad month for them the last couple of years, and the loss of center David Andrews, I think, is one that is being underplayed a little bit in the lead up to this game on Sunday night. He plays a vital role in protecting Tom Brady. So while I don't know that Pittsburgh will straight up win this game, I think they're going to keep it close as New England tries to figure out what it is this season before ultimately making a run to the Super Bowl and winning it all again.
Yeah, I really like the Patriots this year. Their wide receiving core. It's probably the most talent that Brady's had
in a long time.
Since he had Moss. But some of it's hurt. N'Keal Harry, the first-round pick that they really like, injured his ankle. He was put on the IR, so we're not going to see him for a little bit. Demaryius Thomas, who they had to bring back, even though he looked good in Week 4 with 2 TDs. The Andrews loss is a big one. They also lose Gronk.
Well, yeah,
which is a big one.
Off-season loss, yeah.
So when people are talking about the amount of offense that have left Pittsburgh, a lot of offense either is not healthy or left New England. And let's not forget, Pittsburgh, it's not like they lost Le'Veon Bell this offseason. They lost him last offseason. Yeah. James Conner was one of the best running backs in football. And for their last regular season game, they didn't have Antonio Brown either. And Juju Smith-Schuster showed, even though not in a win, that he's good enough to be a number one receiver in football. With more targets, I expect him to be really good. So I'm with you. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to outright win this game, but do I think they're not going to lose by 7 or more? Yeah. So
good Sunday nighter.
It is
It's
a great Sunday nighter.
Yeah.
We got a couple Monday nighters, one better than the other. The first, Houston at New Orleans. New Orleans -7 at home. If you told me the MVP of the league came from this game, I wouldn't be surprised.
That wouldn't be shocking. One of those quarterbacks could definitely win it.
Yeah, or Alvin Kamara could win it if he
true.
has a crazy year in terms of touchdowns. We know what a home field advantage New Orleans has playing in the Dome. Yeah. But is -7 too big of a line?
I think it is. I think despite all of the drama that has surrounded the Texans the last, just over this weekend with Clowney being traded and then them giving up the draft farm for Laramie Tunzel, everyone has kind of forgotten that this team won 11 games last year. And Deshaun Watson's only going to take a step forward. He's got really good options at receiver, if they all stay healthy, which is a big if. And the defense is good and dangerous. They have good players despite the loss of Clowney. So I think they're going to keep it close. I think they're going to compete in this game. And I think they keep it within 7 points. So I'm going to take the Texans here.
Yeah, Clowney, no question, a loss.
Yeah.
But they knew he wasn't going to be there. So they had contingencies for his eventual trade. You can argue they probably should have traded him around the draft so they could have got more for him, but that's neither here or there in terms of projecting them moving forward. I'm surprised that only 43% of the public is with Houston with this big number, because did their trades make a lot of sense? No. Do they probably need a GM with Bill O'Brien doing both jobs? Yeah. Yes. But are they a better football team right now?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
I think they are.
They fixed their biggest problem, which was left tackle.
Yes.
And that makes an immediate impact. Long term, it could be a huge mistake.
Of course, yeah.
2 first-round picks is a lot to give up.
Yeah.
But it helps them now.
Yes, and they address their receiver depth issues. Not that they had depth issues. They had issues keeping Fuller and Kiki Kuti on the field.
Right.
Now you've got Kenny Stills, another guy who can run the top off the defense.
For sure.
So you feel a little bit better about your 2, 3, and eventually 4 spots if they're all healthy in terms of giving Deshaun Watson some talent. They made a couple trades to fortify their backfield as they lost Lamar Miller.
Yep.
I really, really like the Texans. I could see them winning this game outright. Never mind. +7 is a huge number.
Yeah.
So I'm with Houston. The other game,
it's going to be interesting.
It certainly
might not
will.
be good, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah. If you want to stay up for the 10-20 game.
Yeah. Oh, I'm doing it. Football's back. I'm watching every single game.
Yeah. And John Gruden is back. And
Yes.
the Hard Knocks was outstanding. But now we see him in real life. Oakland -2.5 favorites over the Broncos at home. Who do you like in the last game?
I like
the
the
first
Broncos.
week?
I don't think I can take the Raiders as they are right now until I see more from them. And I actually think that we're going to see a better Broncos team than many people expect. The defense will be good with Vic Fangio in charge. That's for sure. And I think with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb on the outside, they could cause a lot of headaches for Derek Carr this night. And like I said, the Raiders, just so much drama with Antonio Brown, and I'm just not 100% convinced by this team, so I'm going to go with the Broncos, who might be a bit better this year than we all expect.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to break my rule of going against new coaches in their first game again. But I do like the Broncos because they've fortified their pass rush through the draft, which was already pretty good. Joe Flacco doesn't need to be great, and I think we know he's not. I think the death of him was claiming he was an elite quarterback after winning a Super Bowl, and it's been downhill ever since. But with this running game and with this defense,
we've seen Denver do this before, right?
Yeah,
with a quarterback who was clearly done, but that they showed that you don't need that to win.
Yeah,
so they could easily do it again.
The last 2 times they've won a Super Bowl, whether it was John Elway late in his career or Peyton Manning, they've done it off the back of great running games, great defense, and a quarterback that made great decisions. Yes. I think they have that formula again. I think the Raiders are probably going to be better than expected just because there's an infusion of so much talent.
Yeah, there is a lot of talent on that team.
I think they're going to stumble into some wins.
Yeah.
But I also still am confused how they're being managed. They got 4 quarterbacks on their roster, which to me doesn't make any sense when I'm not sure
Gruden probably
any of them are
all
good.
Of them except Derek Carr.
Right, so. Probably, yeah. Who's now his neighbor, so that's going to be awkward. So yeah, I love Denver as underdogs, even though they're on the road. Give me the Broncos. Before we wrap this up for week 1, and make sure you like, subscribe, favorite, comment. Let us know where we went right or wrong. Survivors. We had some weeks that were good in terms of picks.
Some really bad ones.
Some bad ones. But we were pretty consistent with our Survivor picks. So let's start that trend again. Sure. Who will you be picking in your various survival pools in week 1?
I'm going to go with Seattle over Cincinnati. Home field advantage. I mean, straight up taking Seattle over one of the worst teams in the league, we suspect, is an easy one for me week 1. You gotta take the sure things week 1.
Yeah, I agree. I am going to take the New England Patriots. And listen, did I take the Steelers in terms of who I thought would cover? Yeah. But do I think the Patriots are going to win at home?
Clearly.
At Foxborough? Yeah. I mean, I don't think they cover -6. But I think they win at home under the bright lights. And so I'm going to take the Pats. Listen, you're always you want to take the Pats before you're knocked out. So I say go big, take the most consistent team in football early, make sure you make it to week 2 of your survivor pool.
I hope you do.
Yeah, honestly. Famous last words.
Yeah.